listeners. You are in for a treat this week on the Life is Better with You in It podcast. And this week we've got Ashlee Sullivan on the podcast with us. She is all the things, right? So we're like this, multi-passionate entrepreneurs. She is a mom, she is a wife, she's a business owner. She's a she, just like herself as a human. And she runs her own business and she's doing all of the things. I know that there's like a lot about Jesus in here too, so we'll probably dig into that. So Ashlee, talk to us and introduce yourself on the podcast. Hello.
Hello. So yes, like you said, I am Ashlee Sullivan. I am the CEO of Woman and Warrior. Technically established in 2019, had a very large pivot and rebrand in 2023. Woman and Warrior is an entire brand line for the military family. So if you are military connected in any way, I have got something for your sleeve.
I love that.
Yeah.
I saw some of the stuff too that you had on, like some of the Jesus, like the Hope Front or something like that. That was
Yes, I do. I also partner with a nonprofit, Homefront Heroes, and I'm there to. I'm like, how can we start to generate some income for you guys? You know, how can I help? And I actually ended up meeting them in person purely by air quotes accident. Right, nothing really happens by accident. So we got connected right before I relaunched my business, and so I design items for them, and I'm their producer and all the things. Just trying to, donate proceeds to them. I like to help where I can. Anybody really.
I love that. You and I think probably could get along over a glass of wine on my dock if that's what you partake in. I also do coffee and Diet Coke.
Yep.
So walk me through, and for you and for all the listeners, right? Every week we kind of talk about what it means to be with other people and how life is better with you in it. And so I think that we're all given these gifts and these desires and the things that we want to chase in our life. And so tell me a little bit about how you got started in your own business, right? Like we always have like that first job, right? Like my first job was babysitting, then graduated to like the pizza place, and like here I am 12 different jobs later. Yes, 12. And so like how did you get your start, and then what maybe led you to own your own business?
So that first job, that first career for me was a classroom teacher. And then I had a bunch of babies of my own. And I was in pursuit. Yeah, so many babies, 4 babies. But yeah, so daycare didn't really compute. Daycare was my salary. And I did have aspirations to continue in the field of education, but I realized that we just had like an astronomical amount of student loan debt, and that my time and efforts pursuing that career path even further, it not only didn't feel like it was the path anymore, deep in me, I was like, something's different. Like, I don't think I'm supposed to do this. But I wanted a bigger shovel. I wanted to be able to help get our family living a debt-free life. And I was a pretty crafty person. And I just kind of was like, you know what? I bet you I can make some things and sell them for a little bit more than what it cost me to make them. And I wonder if I did that enough, could I help, get us out of debt? And so I made it a goal. Like that was just my goal. I Google is my best friend. Like everything that I'm doing now, 5 years ago, I had absolutely zero experience, right? No experience as a business owner. I would say that I was an artist, but graphic design, you can draw pen and paper all you want, but like to do things graphically, like no training, nothing, right? So I just practice makes perfect. Google was my best friend, and
your business partner.
And my business, my business partner, absolutely. So yeah, I really built the plane while flying it, and we had over 6 figures in student loan debt, and lo and behold, I was able to hustle and figure that shit out, and I got it paid off with just under a year and a half of opening. So that would be round 1 of my business, I like to call it. So round 1 of my business is because this was my business, not just prior to the rebrand, but in like what feels like a different life. Because my husband, he had been a Coast Guard reserve for 12 years. and decided that, we decided that he wanted to transition and commission with the Army, go active duty. Um, and that was a transition in itself, let me tell you. It was a steep learning curve. And so, yeah, right after I had scaled my business pretty quickly and was doing very well, I actually decided that the best thing to do at the time to have a smooth transition for myself and my family, get my bearings, would be to close the doors. And the close the doors kept on lengthening and lengthening and lengthening because we kept getting hit with like, oh, but also he's going to deploy, or
Mm,
oh,
mm,
but
mhm,
also you have to wait because XYZ.
mhm,
So
mhm.
anyways, but yes, eventually the time came where I reopened in May 2023, and it was really during that couple years away where it hit me that I was like, you know what, like I'm going to make an entire brand this time, but for military families, because life is better with them in it.
Yes,
And we're better connected.
yes,
So
yes.
I wanted to create items that really could unify us across branches, the moms, the dads, the service members, the spouses, the kids, just band us together. So yeah,
Man.
it's been a journey.
So the first round, you totally
Yep.
eliminate all the debt because you
Yep.
hustled your ass off. So
Yep.
kudos. Then you took a break. What did that feel like in the waiting years?
Oh.
Because I've obviously, like, I've only been in business for I don't know, 2 years now. And so I'm
Hmm.
like a brand new baby, right? You're like still learning the mistakes. You're like, all right, can I make this year? Can I make
Yes.
this year? Like, are
Yes.
you sure? And then the waiting years and the years where you're like super unsettled about what's happening, I can imagine some of that time was unsettling for you. Walk me through some of that.
So that is like right spot on. Like there were so many times where I was just, I mean, itching to get back into it, and not in a money hungry way. It was just like, gosh, like I need to
Something
like,
more. Mhm.
yeah, like I need to do my thing. Like I need to do my thing. Why is the time not right? And there were so many lessons that I think that the Lord really wanted me to learn during
Mm,
that season of waiting. And one of the biggest ones being rest, like rest, especially as an entrepreneur, those times where we're not hustling, hustling, hustling. It's so needed.
mm,
Otherwise, you're going to burn out, and it's not going to be your best work, or you're going to be chasing the wrong things. Like,
yeah.
cause you won't, during that time away, actually think about that a lot, because I'm like, dang, like I'm technically on paper, I've been in business since 2019. I've just hit 5 years right now, but
Damn.
there's a big chunk of them where I in business. I wasn't cranking a revenue, but there's still work to be done when you're not generating profit.
Yeah.
Like there's so much clarity to be gained within that gap. Um, I think that times like that are just so incredibly important, especially for those who are entrepreneurial minded, because that's where that productive rest is where we get creative. If we're too busy, or if we're pulled in too many directions, like that actually squelches our fire.
Mm.
So it was very much, it was learning to be disciplined in rest during that time. And I definitely have noted that I carry that with me now. Like I can almost like pinpoint where I'm like, you're pushing too fast, pushing too hard. You need to slow down.
Mhm.
Like you're missing the rest. And I just know how important that is now. So important and
Oh,
overlooked.
what a lesson in learning how to rest, because our society tells us that we need to hustle harder. And
Hmm.
if we are not at X, Y, and Z, well, we just need to work harder or you're not hustling enough. And there is
Yep.
this very fake game on social media that tells us that we need to keep going. And I agree with you 100% in the rest. So you touched on something I want to maybe give a little tidbit or some advice to our listeners. When do you start to know that you are going too fast? Like at what point? Like what's happening? Is it a physical thing for you? Is it a mental thing for you? Is it something that your kids say, right? Because there are some times that they say something to you and you're like, shit,
Mm.
that did not feel
Yep.
right. But you were
Yeah. No.
fucking right, yeah,
Yep.
like I'm
Yeah.
not
I
here, but I'm here.
I think that it's a little bit of all of it. Like I think that like I'll know within myself, I'll start having either creative blocks where,
Mhm.
you know, almost like writer's block, kind
Yeah,
of, where you're just
yeah,
like,
it
I
is.
don't even know. I don't even know. Like you're
What am
stuck,
I doing
right?
on this life?
Yes,
Yeah.
what is life?
What is life?
Yeah, like it's like
Yeah.
I almost it's like my brain gets like thrown into neutral where I'm like
Mhm.
just stuck. And it's because I haven't slowed down enough. So like I don't know, it's like God throwing the brake on for me. Like, just kidding. You're gonna look like you're making progress, but you're not making progress. You need to chill.
Yeah.
Um
Yeah. Is there
but
any habits that you do to try to create that boundary for yourself, right? Like I know like boundary is like a word that everybody talks about right now,
mhm.
and like boundaries are for us, not for other people. So like
Yep.
there a boundary that you set? Like I have something in red on my like board up here that says like no Saturday interviews, because I
Mm,
know that like I need to shift into a really strong down gear on Saturdays. And when I
yes.
don't, I am a crabby MFer. So like
Mhm.
I put it in red, like do not schedule any interviews on Saturdays. Like that is
Yep.
like you need to slow down and have coffee and be with your kids that morning. So like are there habits that you create for yourself that we can share with the listeners?
100%. I'm like, yes, let me tell you about all my
From all
boundaries
of my
because I have a
mistakes,
lot of
which
them.
those ones I made that
Well,
one.
boundaries are blessings. Like boundaries are a gift, you know, like not only like you think about it with kids, boundaries are gifts we give our kids, you know, like it takes the guessing game out. It helps them,
Yes.
you know, like know it gives them clarity. And the thing is that it can, for some people, it's difficult for them to set boundaries with other people. But like, I think so many of us could probably agree that it is so difficult to hold boundaries for yourself because you know like you get to say you can tell yourself like well just one more thing,
Yep.
well just one interview on Saturday, you know what I mean, like
Yep.
just
Well, and I want to give of my time and I want to give of myself all the time because I'm
right.
naturally that way. So like if someone's
Mm-hmm.
like, I need this, or if someone's like, I need that, I'm like, yep, 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 yep. And I'm like,
Yep.
oh shit.
So I would say, so for me, and I was going to say, there are times where but it's like a defined change in the boundary
Mm,
that I'll make. Cause there really are times where, you know, like if I hold fast to this, something's going to like tank or miss deadlines or whatever. Like right now,
yep.
I'll just give an example. Some boundaries that I do have for myself are I walk an hour. I do go on a mental health walk 1 hour every day. I honestly, a part of me was like looking at the time for our interview and I'm like, I walk and talk to her like because I need to make sure that I do that because it's my
Yeah.
boundary.
I
But
love that.
that's one of them. And then two of them that I have shifted just for the season of month of the military child because I have so many time sensitive orders to get out. Typically, I will not touch work past 5 p.m. on a weekday, and I will not touch a single thing over the weekend. That has been different, I would say, from March and April, and I kind of knew that it was going to be
Mhm.
that way, or hoped. I guess I should say hoped. I hoped I
Yeah.
had enough volume
Mhm.
where I was like,
Mhm.
I can get up to clock some hours.
Yeah.
But yes, no, I think shutting shutting down, like, so I work from home. That's a whole nother ball game, right? Of holding boundaries because it's
Yep.
like I like this is in my house. My
Yep.
workspace is in the front of my house, but I actually it's funny. I
Same.
have a little door. Like it doesn't even have a door. I have like a makeshift wall right here with my inventory and a little door that I can like slide shut. But
Mhm.
yeah, it used to be like after 5 during my normal like volume window at 5, I shut that door and I walk away. I'm not allowed back in there until the next day.
That's awesome. I love
Yeah.
that for you. And
But
then
my biggest thing is the mental health walk though. Like I
like
cannot stress that enough for any type of creative or entrepreneur. Like exercise is important too, but like just getting out and getting moving outside in nature is healing, productive, and rest all at the same time.
I 100% agree. I like hold bound, like I have a Wheaton Terrier, which I'm surprised he's not barking right now and wants to come in. His name is Chuck. and he needs a lot of exercise. And so like I know that if he doesn't get walked, he's terrible. But also I
Hmm.
know that for me, like being in a home environment, my office is also like at home, right? You can see all the stuff behind me.
Hmm.
And like we don't have a door yet. And so I need to get a physical door, I think just for me, because it is like a physical, like
Yeah.
mental cue that's like, okay, this is
Like
turning
turning off a
off.
light. You're
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. Like I have to turn it
close
off
sign
for
up.
them. Hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, I still have things on my phone, right? So like I know that I will like get text messages from clients and stuff like that, and I always want to be able to help. But I feel like when you close mentally the door, you're like, all right, this is it for the day. But
Yes.
walking Chuck outside, I'm 100% with you. So listeners, if you are like in entrepreneurship right now and you're feeling like a certain type of way, or you're like having that mental block, get the hell outside. Because
Yep.
I also believe that like I have never had, and I was thinking about this the other day, I've never had any good ideas for my business, for my clients, or anything sitting in this office,
100%.
which is so weird. I was like,
100%.
holy shit,
They
I've
don't come
never
when you're
thought of
sitting.
anything cool here. It happens in the shower. It happens when I'm on a walk. I will be baking and having a glass of wine. I will
Yeah.
be out with people. And then I will
Hmm.
be driving home and I'll be like, oh, that's a good idea. Oh, I'm going to post about this. Oh, I need to talk about that.
Yeah.
Nothing creative happens in this office. Yes, the shit, the day to day happens here. The client meetings happen here, but the ideas
Yeah.
happen outside. So
Yep.
creators,
100%.
if you have like a creative mind, or you've got a really busy mind, which I have, I keep like a notepad by my bed in case I wake up in the middle of the night.
Yep.
Mhm. And then I will have all those ideas outside. So like get outside. Don't get so consumed by like having to respond to an email that you can't have that creative stuff. So I love that. Yes, we are very similar in that. So we kind of talked about a little bit about how you got started, some boundaries that you set for yourself. So talk to me about how you are with the military community, because I know that that's really important to you. It's really important to me. I think for me it's hard to like find my community and where I like fit in, because sometimes
Hmm.
I just don't feel like I fit in. I've never said that out loud, so public people are going to hear that. But like I've never felt like I have like a group. I have friends. I have people who
Hmm.
love me so much, who like come when I'm like, it's an emergency. But I think like finding that community is hard. So tell me a little bit about how you are with the military community and how you try to get them together.
Okay. Well, physically
Mm,
with the community,
yes,
I think that that cannot be overlooked because I know that I have a very active online presence.
it's awesome.
That's a
I love
whole, it's a
it.
whole different way of trying to
Yes.
connect, and I will touch on that.
Yeah.
But being with your neighbors, like even your physical neighbors, like coming outside, knocking on the door, hey, how you doing? I think that it is, you cannot overlook the in-person contact and how incredibly important it is, not just for yourself but for the other people around you.
Mm,
I know that there was a year, a full year, that I thought that I was going to get back into my business, that I felt pulled and directed in a completely different direction to volunteer on post. And I cannot stress that enough, to be with the people that
mm,
are on your posts. Like it is so healing. We all need it. We all
mhm.
need the connection so desperately. And I am grateful for, so I really am great. I know social media can be such a double-edged sword
So
sometimes,
much.
but
Mm.
it really can be um almost like it's almost like speed dating friendships. Like
Yes.
you get to check, you vet somebody real fast and you're like, I
Yes.
could connect with you.
Right? I think that's how
um
you and I got connected. I saw like Monica, who
yes.
was on my podcast before, and I saw your
Yeah.
stuff. I was like, oh, she funny. And I was like, oh, her shit's cute. I was like, I gotta buy this. I'm like, oh, maybe she wants to be on the podcast. Let me see if she'll be my friend.
I think that so like I remember when I will say, very green to like the active duty military family life. Our first year was like, I felt like we got hazed. I swear, like it was, we were baptized by fire. Like it
Mhm.
was like deployment long TDY, deployment, like moving. We lived in 4 states in one year. Like that's a lot. It was a
That's a
lot,
lot.
but I felt so incredibly alone, like so incredibly alone. And I remember, for my own mental health during that time, I was like, I need to like take a break from social media, at least posting. But I desperately, like, I would, it's crazy because there are people that I've connected with now, whether it's on like a business level or even just like personal level, that I used to listen, watch whatever their content, and it helped me so deeply feel
Mhm.
connected to something, even though I had just been dropped. I'm in Kansas, by the way.
Yeah.
It's not that bad here, but there's not a
There ain't
lot.
nothing there. Mm-mm.
No. So I got dropped here, and 3 weeks later my husband deployed. So I was just like, like, who am I? Like, where,
Mhm.
like, how do I connect with people? And it can be, social media really can be such a blessing. So I think once I like almost like went through the really like fire seasons of military life, it made me feel like, okay, I think I'm actually ready to step into this space now. I think I can provide value or connection or comfort, to people that were like me, like
Mhm.
feeling like maybe they don't fit or they're having trouble fitting at their new location, or it's almost like social media in a way can stand in the gap when you're in limbo,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
so I just think that, on the funny side, I feel like trauma bond's a real thing. Like, we go through a lot of shit.
Mhm,
we
mhm.
go we
And very
we
things
go
like
through so much stuff.
unexpected, like very like
Yes.
unexpected, like, wow, I did not see that coming.
Yes, like that was not on my bingo card. Mm-mm,
Mm-mm,
no.
mm-mm.
But what's nuts, I guess, or what's nuts is that I think some of us feel nuts sometimes, and it's like, well, our experiences are absolutely insane,
Mhm.
but they're actually not unique to us,
No,
us being the
no.
military families. I'm just like, no, we're all on this crazy train.
Yes. Yes.
So we might as well talk about it,
Mhm, mhm,
laugh about it,
mhm, mhm,
and
mhm.
like show up for each other, even if that's just a DM from a comment or a DM from a random stranger that's like, I've been there. I've been
Yeah,
there. You're going to be okay. I
yeah,
cannot tell you how many times, like, myself, that I have been comforted by just some random stranger on the internet, and how much it just, you know, I don't know, fills me back up just
yeah.
enough to keep going. So yeah,
So it
I
sounds like
love to be with
yes.
everybody in that capacity, I guess.
It sounds like you're telling us that you're with the military community by being physically with them,
Mm-hmm.
finding opportunities to volunteer with in person, or
Yes.
support in some way, and then like this social media online presence, which like I love social media too. Like my family's all in Illinois, and so like I want to always be like connecting and sharing photos, and like I like to share
Mm-hmm.
stuff. I like to share funny stuff. On my bingo card in 2020 it was hey, your husband's like not coming home from deployment, and like also like at the same day, like the first call I got was, hey, you're not laid off, but like you're down to 4 hours a week while we figure out what's going on with the company. And then number two, it was, hey, I'm not coming home in 2 weeks for Easter. And I was like, what? And so
Uh,
he didn't come home until June, which was not a unique experience for me, but like I was
mm-hmm.
like in a silo because of COVID and how,
Mm-hmm.
probably go on a whole tangent about how that really like disturbed the width and building the width. And so I think
Yeah.
like I'm with you, width is never going away. And so like finding a way to do it positively online and in
Mm-hmm.
person, I think is what is really good for like our mental health and how we're with other people. And
Mm-hmm.
so walk me through a little bit about like being with your kids and like being a support for your kids and like what it's like to be a mom and a
Mm-hmm.
business owner, because like you always like they say like you can have it all, but like I read on your thing too, like you realize quickly like you can't have it all. You will have it all, you're just not going to get all that shit all at once. And the people who do say that they have it all, you're full of it. You're full of it. Like I think that they're full of it. I think that there's something that you're hiding behind this like
Right.
that you're not sharing, because I
Mm-hmm.
did try to have it all. I tried to be the mom, I tried to be the business owner, the wife, the this, the that, involved in church and involved in this, but I'm not convinced that you can ever have it all. So walk me through that dynamic as a mom and a business owner.
Being a mom has to come first. And I say that with conviction because there are so many times that It doesn't. Even I'm talking like this morning, even, gosh, none of us are perfect. And you're right, we can't all have
Mhm.
it all.
Mm-mm.
But yes, I think that being honest, I think, with yourself is the biggest what's the word I'm looking for? The biggest protection you can give yourself and your family and your business is being honest with, are you spread too thin? Are your priorities in the right order? What you have to keep the important stuff. And it's not your kid's job to hold you accountable. Like,
Mhm.
I'm lucky that my husband is home right now. Well, technically he was gone this week, but he's back now. But we're in a
Oh,
season
I
when he's
understand.
home.
Uh-huh. Mhm.
But he's a great accountability partner for me too. He'll be like, he's always been that way. Even before I started my business, he's the reason why I actually left teaching. He was, because I was teaching. We had 3 young kids at the time, and I was in grad school, and he's like, you need to put something down
Mhm.
before you drop the important stuff. So I ended up leaving teaching. But yeah, he's my accountability partner for sure now too. Like, when it comes on the weekend, he's like, when's your stopping point?
Yeah.
And he's like, or he has to be like, oh, and also, along with being honest, like, when other people that truly care about you are honest with you, like your kids or your spouse, when they're um shedding light maybe on, like, you haven't stopped since like 7 a.m., when's your stopping point? You can't be defensive either. You got to
Mhm.
kind of be like,
That
if
hurts
I'm
some
feeling
feelings,
defensive,
Ashlee.
that
That hurts
hurt
my
me right
feelings.
here, but you're not attacking me. You're trying to literally tell me and signal to me,
Mhm.
like, time to press the clock out button.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
yeah, or like my daughter, I think it was last week, she's like, can you just like close your shop for a week? And I was like, well, I have like a lot of open orders, like I can't do that. But yes, highly considering taking a break and a vacation soon. Yes, if she's saying that, there's probably a reason. I probably need
Yeah.
to.
Yeah. Oh man. So your accountability with yourself is your protection. Um,
Hmm.
so listeners, I think that's a good thing for how we learn to be with ourselves is like
Hmm.
listening and watching what's happening, and you're feeling those vibrations, and finding an accountability partner. So if you are in business and you are navigating what it means to balance and live with all of the things, like I don't even think balance is a good word, but I haven't been able to find another one.
Yeah,
Like I
it's
don't think that's,
fluid.
yeah,
It's
it's
got
too
to be
fluid.
too fluid for it to be
Yes.
balanced. You know what I mean? It's
Yes.
just, it has to ebb and flow. You got to be, I mean, we're like, if you're not a pro at being flexible when you're a military family, you'll get there one day, I'm sure.
Correct. Correct.
But you
Either by
gotta
like
kind
being
of just,
physically broken or
you're
or you
either going to look like a pretzel or you're going to bend.
yes. Oh, I love it. So listeners, get yourself an accountability partner if you are finding that you're chasing this craft, you're chasing this dream. Um, there's always like there's always have to have some protections in place to protect it. I think what I use in my head of like knowing like what's important and what matters most, I think of like the glass and plastic balls. And so like I
Yes.
think it was Nora Roberts, I think, who talked about that.
Somebody, like,
Yeah,
which can be
somebody did.
dropped. Yeah. Don't
Yeah.
drop the
And
glass
like
ones.
I have a professional coach who has been on this podcast before, and like she will sometimes deliver some of these things to me. And I'm like,
Hmm.
that did not sound right. You can like go home. And I'm like, yeah, no, I want to keep going with the session, but I don't like what you said. And so she's like, you have to understand, like, things are gonna drop every single day. Like that literally that's life. No one is
Yep.
doing life at 100%. I think we're all doing life sometimes at 100, and that like feels
Hmm.
so good. And then sometimes like we're at 70% because these balls that we have in the air, some of them are glass and some of them are plastic. And like I've learned for me, and what's been helpful for me is like knowing that what matters most, right? Like my babies and my
Hmm.
husband. And so I'm going to schedule time to go to the zoo and be the chaperone. And I'm going to spend
Yep.
time to go to the aquarium with the other one. Cause like, God forbid you do it for one, you gotta do it for both. Cause otherwise they get mad. And I learned that
Yeah.
lesson. So, being able to like set those things in place, but knowing like that those other 4 days are gonna hurt because I'm gonna be killing in that work to make sure
Hmm.
that I set that time aside. So I've
Yep.
tried to like make sure I block time physically for what matters most because I know that
Yeah, you
like
gotta,
time will just get away from you. I don't know how else to say it like that, but I feel
you
like
do, you have to schedule that stuff in
yes.
first. I mean, that's, I don't do anything any morning before I have done I read the Bible daily. I don't do anything like work wise. I might run my kids to school and then get it in if like I, slept in that morning. But you have to, your actions show what is most important to you. That's the
Mm,
proof. The
mm,
proof is there. So,
mhm.
what you do, what you say, like what you commit to and like have the discipline to follow through with, that speaks volumes. So if people are bringing the if people are bringing things to light like your family, that like, hey, I don't feel important, it might hurt to hear, but it's time to pay attention.
Oh, absolutely. And I resonate with you and the accountability partner. And so I think a lot of this works
Yeah.
because you have a supportive spouse. For
Yes.
me, it works because I have a supportive spouse. I had no idea what I was going to do when my shit hit the fan. And then was like, hey, I'm going to interview for this job. And if I don't get this job, I'm going to start my own business. And so I didn't get the job. They hired someone right out of college, which makes sense, right? It's cheaper. And he was like, so you said you were gonna, and I was like, I did, didn't I? Didn't I? I
Sounds
don't know if
scarier
I
now,
did.
doesn't it?
And now, even now, he will come in and be like, I'm making dinner right now. It is 5:13. What's your stopping point? And then there'll be times where he's like, I'm gonna take the laptop and just shut it. And I'm like, hold on. So I think
I
like
feel it.
yes, yes. I think there's a value in that partnership with your spouse of like having that accountability for protection, being able
Mhm.
to know that like your partner is on board. And so listeners, like if you're finding that there's some rub, right? And if
Mhm.
there's some bad
Mhm.
rub, like you and your spouse probably have to duke it out to find some way to keep it moving together. Because yes, while you may not like hearing some of the feedback, it's going to be for the long term benefit versus
Yep.
short term profit. Yeah, I think
100%.
always. And so I love that like we resonate a lot together about like just like having those failures that help us
Mhm.
recorrect
Yeah.
that daily action that you take reading the Bible. Now, do you read like a Bible verse? Do you do like a Bible prayer? Do you do like
Well,
a thing? Like what's that like for you and your routine?
so, I would say in the past few years, I've like followed like a devotional,
Mm,
just random devotionals. But
mhm.
this year, I actually set a goal to follow this Bible reading plan. Like you read like you'll finish the Bible by the end of the year.
Oh, nice.
So that's what I'm following. So really, it's a few chapters usually a day from different books. It's not like it doesn't go through it chronologically either. It's not going from like new to old, or oh my gosh, look at me, Old to New Testament. It goes through the 7 biblical sections. So yeah, every day is something, different book, couple
That's
chapters.
awesome. Is it
Yeah.
the I have the like daily women's like it's like a one a day and like it works you through the whole thing?
It's just some random plan. Like I think it was a free download on the Kindle app, like where it was like, here's the plan, and then I just, use the Bible that I have. Like,
That's awesome.
so
All right,
yeah.
so we have a routine. So listeners, when you're learning how to be with yourself, there's that routine in having some like faith in the morning.
Hmm.
Always like starts the day.
Yep.
Making sure you're taking time to get outside and be outside, and then also setting those boundaries for yourself and having accountability in place when you're navigating this business from home. I think that
Hmm.
you and I are not unique. I think there are a lot of military spouses like us who are navigating what it means, and not even just military spouses. There are a lot of spouses, women who are like, I'm
Hmm.
not following the corporate ladder anymore. I'm going to go do my own dream and live my
Yeah.
own thing and make my own thing. And so I'm going to chase that. And so what does that look like? So listeners, I hope it's been helpful kind of hearing from Ashlee. Do you have something else you want to add?
I was gonna say
Tell me.
just something, I'm like, you said it and I'm like, you know what's interesting is that we're talking about entrepreneurship and like success in entrepreneurship, and everything that we've noted has we haven't said anything about work really. We've talked about rest, we've talked about having routines for your like mental health,
Yeah,
getting outside. I just think that's something very important to note, that can you have success if you don't cover the most important bases? I don't think you can. I think some people become so narrow focused on the work that they forget that like everything that's going on around it, life, like that's what propels you forward in the work. So I just thought it
absolutely.
was interesting.
Well, I don't know if any coworkers, which I love all the people that work with me, I don't know that they're going to be at my bedside. So
No,
they might
they
because I
might,
love my people. I love my
maybe.
people, but like,
They're
uh,
like, did you submit that?
right.
Can I ask you 1 second? Did you make that deadline? Just really quick before your deadline?
Nobody's gonna care. Nobody's
No,
gonna give a shit.
no.
They're just not.
Yes.
They're just not. Oh wow, that's cool. Yeah, we didn't really talk about work. But we
No.
know what you do. I can see what you do behind your screen because it's beautiful and you make all of this appear.
Eh,
We like touched on it. We did touch on it.
great.
Yeah, listeners, important to know that it's not really about the work. I think it's about the way in which we work that can make us successful. And I
Yes,
think
who
too,
you're
we touched,
becoming is
yes,
more important. Hmm.
and knowing whose you are, right? Really,
Yes,
ultimately.
absolutely. Yep.
And I think too, like learning from failures, I think we've talked quite a bit about how people are holding us accountable and how we fail in
Hmm.
some aspects because I don't think I've
Yep.
learned any good lesson without that failure. So I guess as
Yep.
we close this out, we'll close this out real quick with maybe a failure story. Do you have one you want to share?
I do.
Tell me.
Of course
Tell
I do.
me.
I'm like, which
You're like,
one?
of course I do.
Of
Yeah.
course I do. Of course I do. Oh gosh. Well, I think that I think what would be so what would be maybe helpful, I think, for especially anybody, if anybody listens to this that,
Mm,
like is maybe one of my entrepreneur buddies, like I have because I've connected with like a lot of military spouse, small business owners.
awesome.
So here's just we'll not that I ever wear a mask, but we'll rip the band-aid off that, sometimes things aren't always what they seem. Like I feel like people know that on
Hmm.
social media, like especially if you yourself create content on social media. But I had a launch that I had a fall launch, and let me tell you, I dedicated so much time to this launch, so much time and energy, and I was just like so pumped about it. And let me tell you, I don't think I've ever had anything flop so hard in my life. I think I sold like 11 items total, like from the launch. And I was just like, well, that was humbling.
Yeah.
And I think it's just important to know that like not everything is always just going to be rolling. Not everything's going to
Mhm.
pop off. Not everything's going to be a hit with other people. Like it's not, because failure comes with it. But what it gives you is really, there is a gift in failure. Do you know what I did after that failed? I didn't quit.
Mm, nice.
Like I did reevaluate how much time I spent on any launch moving forward, but
I
also
bet.
it gave me the opportunity to sit and really analyze it. Like, well, okay, let's try to figure out why it failed, because maybe the products didn't suck, maybe I just didn't talk about them enough.
Mm,
Like maybe they weren't in people's faces enough, I don't know. Maybe they did suck, why did they suck? But yeah, I think it's important, yeah, or I think that that's something that, especially if you're a product based business owner, if we're all being honest, like there are things that
that flop.
they, yeah, it's gonna flop. It's gonna flop. It sucks. It feels bad, but you can't take it as a personal, like, and which is hard, because especially when you're if it's a product based business and it's like handmade and produced, or like you're literally doing it from the ground up,
So
like
personal.
it is personal because you're in it, but like you can't let it, you can't quit.
Mm,
I feel like this is gonna sound profound. It's not gonna sound profound, it's gonna sound really stupid, but like you only fail if you quit.
yes.
So you
Yeah.
got to keep going. But yeah, that was definitely, so far in my reopening, that was the one of the
One.
biggest failures that I've had. I do have another funny one but maybe we'll save that for another time.
Ooh, okay. Let's have a podcast too on that.
Yeah.
So listeners, you've heard it. You've heard it from Ashlee, the behind the curtain of what it's like to be a business owner, have a couple of passions, have things that really matter to you that you want to protect your time and your energy and your space mentally, and like the things that you love that are in your home. So I hope that you've been able to learn something today from this podcast about what it's like to be with others, what it's like to be with yourself and chase these dreams. And then sometimes the shit about failing, because we're all going to do it. It's a beautiful thing because you learn something from it, and you're probably like me, you learn it the hard way, and it's always from the mistakes. So I always have to learn it the hard way.
Amen.
All right. Well, thank you for being on the podcast today, Ashlee. It's been absolutely wonderful.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, friends, life is better with you in it, and we'll catch you on the flip side.